So you have your Google Classroom set up, but maybe you're having trouble remembering how to add those assignments and those materials, and maybe even what's the difference between them. So after going to classroom.google.com and seeing your classes, remember you can always add more classes with the plus sign up here, enter into the class that you want to add assignments to, and we will go from there. There are several things to keep in mind as you set up your Google Classroom. My strong recommendation would be to not worry too much about the stream, but rather use this classwork tab up here to organize your thoughts. I personally don't want all this stuff I post to go into this chronological stream. So over on my settings, I have turned that off by saying classwork hide notifications. And therefore, when students do come to my site to see material, they see very little under the stream. They click on coursework, and now I can have it outlined in an organized way. So when you get here, there's some things that you want to do as you start to add your materials. So clicking the Create button is the best way to start. And you may want to organize things by topics. My current topics, as you can see, are Unit 10 and Unit 9, etc. Maybe if you are turning this into an online class, maybe your topic is the week of March 16 through 20. Maybe you continue to do a topic. Maybe it's a chapter. Maybe it's a unit. So completely up to you on how you want to structure it. But I would suggest using topics as it helps to really organize your material. So for example, we could just do here and we could type in March 16 through 20 and I add it. And now I have a topic that I can add other things under. All right, so topic doesn't do you a whole lot because there's no material in there. So let's get some stuff underneath there. So we go back to our create. Down the line, we'll talk a little bit more about using some of this question stuff. For right now, I'm going to focus on using assignments and materials. Those are going to be your two main things. The quick difference between them is materials allow you to just post things that the students can access. So if you have some Google Slides and you want your students to be able to see them in a view only, not edit them, just be able to see them, you could share it as a material. If you have a worksheet that they're not going to necessarily type on, it just has directions, you could share that. If there's a web page, you could share that link. So it is useful and it's great, but you can't necessarily add a due date to it. And you can't give the students their own personal copies of things. So I typically choose assignments because I can post the exact same things under assignments as I can materials. I can put web addresses, I can put instruction sheets, I can put Google Docs, but I also have some other options besides just view only. So let's look at a couple of those options there. So I'm going to click assignment. And underneath here, we will do, I'll just say practice for right now. And you might want to give a description. You don't really have to. So maybe if you are adding this assignment is your day's plan. So March 17, here's everything that needs to be done. You could lay it out clearly on here, or you could say something like, see the instructions attached. All right, so that means I better add some instructions. So we'll get to that in a second with this add button. Some other things we've got going on here is, let's say I have 3 Google Classrooms for this particular class, and I don't want to go through this step for all 3 of them. Well, the best way to go about it is over here for the 4, if you click on it, you can see all the classes that you currently have active, and you can check any other classes and it will automatically add this assignment to them. One thing to note though, is that if I want this to go to a certain topic, like the one I just made, so I just selected my March 16 and 20, you need to make sure that you have created that topic in each of your classes. And that you cannot transfer. You would have to go into each of your classes, set up your topic, and then from that point on, you can share among all of them. It's up to you if you want to have points. I usually go non-graded. You can send things to just specific students. So it's a very nice way to differentiate some learning and send different groups of students some different assignments. But for this purposes, I'm going to send it to all my students, and I would send it maybe to both AP Bio classes. Again, you can select a due date or not, similar to graded or ungraded. It's completely up to you. Make sure you choose your topic so that it gets organized. You can even create some rubrics and feel free to play around with those and originality reports, lots of good stuff, but they are not the focus of this presentation. So now that I have the basics set up, I actually want to get my materials in here. So I'm going to click this Add button. And it gives you so many great options on what to add. I can click on my Google Drive and add any of those documents, any Word docs, any spreadsheets, any Google Slides, anything else. You can see that it defaults on recent. And so it's kind of a nice way to see what is some of the stuff that you've had up on your computer very recently. I got a lot of weird files going on here, but you can see here some of my PowerPoints and videos, but maybe it's something that's a little bit older. And so you can go directly to your drive, or you can even go to your shared drive, and you can just navigate just like any other one, clicking through, finding the exact thing that you want to do. And so I'm just going to click on a Google Doc here or some instructions, and notice it shows up right down at the bottom. Now here's where the power of assignment versus the power of materials comes in. For materials, by default, the setting is students can view file, and you cannot change that under materials, which means students can see the stuff, but if they want to actually type on it, edit it, etc., they have to make their own copy. Well, under assignments, if we click this little arrow, we could just give them a view-only file. We could allow all the students to edit that single file. I would not necessarily recommend giving 30 students editing rights to one document. But here's the one that I use all the time. Make a copy for each student. And so now when my students come to Google Classroom and click on this assignment, these Zoom instructions, it will actually create a separate copy for each of them. One will be called, for example, Dan Hoekstra - Zoom instructions. Another student opens it up and it will have their name automatically in the title, and it's automatically shared with you as a teacher, so they don't have to worry about sharing permissions. You can go there anytime they're working on it or not working on it, and you can see the progress that they have made live. And I'll show you that in just a minute. So make a copy for each student. Now you don't just have to add Google Docs here. Maybe you have a file saved on your computer. Maybe it's a Word doc or some sort of text file. So you click on that, and just like most other applications, you can browse your computer from clicking here, or you can drag them in. You can search for where did you save that pesky little file, select it, and it will show up there, and you can click upload. You can add links. So maybe you're going to direct them to that amazing YouTube video, or maybe you're going to direct them to a website where they're going to do some sort of tutorial or watch an animation. You can just paste that link right in there. And then finally, you can do YouTube videos directly from here. So if there's a particular YouTube video, yes, you could also post it as a link, but this is just like kind of a shortcut to that. So you can post multiple things underneath an assignment. It's just up to you. So the way I envision things would be, if this is, instead of practice maybe this is Tuesday, March 17, and it's being posted under my March 16 to 20 week. The instructions are attached. Maybe now I have a Google Doc saying, here's exactly the stuff that you need to do. Maybe I post a link to a video I want them to watch. Maybe I post a link to a worksheet that I want to fill them out. And I have it all contained underneath this one assignment. So finally, we want to assign it. Note, you do have a couple other options. You can actually schedule it. Typically, if you have more than one class selected, you cannot schedule it. So if you do want to do the scheduling feature and say, hey, I don't want this to show up until blank, then just make sure you have one class selected. You choose the date, you choose the time, and it will automatically show up there. You can also save a draft if you want to come back later and just work on it some more, or you can just click assign. And as soon as I assign, you can see that it's going to pop me back over to my main page, and we're going to see this Tuesday, March 17 assignment right underneath my topic. Later on, if you get more things under topic, you can just drag and rearrange them however you want. So it's very flexible that way. And now if I click in this assignment, kind of like my students will do, they will see anything on there. I can even see who's turned things in, who's not. When I want to view assignment, I can just click right there, and you can see all my students here, and I can start to go into each of their assignments and actually see what has been done, who's been doing things. I can see it live. I can make Google comments just like on any other Google Doc. And so that's the idea of assignment view in Google Classroom. Just for the sake of use, so I don't confuse my students too much, I'm just going to quick delete that a second because I don't really want them to have that. So just in comparison, if I go back to my create and click materials, you'll see that it's a much smaller list of things to do. Once again, I can do a title and description. Once again, I can select multiple classes and multiple students. Once again, I can select my topic, so where it's going to show. But in my ad, I have these same things, but if I add a Google Doc, and here's, I guess, the main difference, I cannot make a copy for each student. If I add a Google Doc to this one, it is going to just by default give them this view only. So we'll click the exact same one I clicked before and add it. Notice I have no menu over here for copy, edit, or view. It's just view only. And over here, I don't have things like points, and I don't have the option to create rubrics. I don't have the option to set a due date. And again, I just can post. So things are a little bit different under the materials. So that's the main difference between materials and assignments in Google Classroom. And more details will be coming out, more tutorial videos on how to do some other things within Google Classroom. If you have any questions, find a tech person and they will gladly help.